Hello YouTube, Beating from the bedroom here, your guitar junkie. So, this is not verses, it's not comparing, it's just showing you one guitar from the other. Basically the same thing, one with a Hardtail and one with a Floyd. And you know the deal. So let me try to do a little switcheroony here and start off from the beginning. And I'll tell you why I started with the Hardtail. Now I remembered why I was trying to look up one of the comments from someone that mentioned the headstock reminding them of Gumby, and now I can't get it out of my head. Yeah, so the shout out goes to him. There we go. Yeah, not much into playing today, so I'm not even going to plug it in. I'm just going to bring it a little bit closer instead of plugging in the mic and doing that whole thing. Well, maybe I should. So, yes, someone left a comment, and he said he remarked how the headstock reminds him of Gumby, the head on Gumby, and now I can't get it out of my head. So what I went to do is I went to look him up on my comments. He's got a picture of a bear. I'll leave a shout out in the description, because I apologize, I forgot, and I just read it a couple of minutes ago. I forgot who it was. And you know, I do mispronounce words, I do say things I don't mean to say, I do try to correct it in subtitles on the bottom if you have that active on your channel, on your phone or whatnot. But yeah, that's just due to head trauma. I just I just mispronounce words, or I don't say things the way I want to say them. But yeah, he put that Gumby in my head, and if you do look at it, it does, you know. And then I went back and I Googled Gumby with the pony, and it was the shape of his head. So now, you know, it's my Agile Gumby guitars. So I'm laughing at it. I found it was amusing because, like I said, as I went to go back to my comments, I had to post a video, you know, like 3 days in a row, because I posted a video yesterday, and I'm gonna post one tomorrow. I don't know when you're gonna see this video. So I had one that was in the can that has to be played before, in the middle of 1 and 3. So I posted that today, and you know, of course, I had some butthead leave a comment and irritate me, as they all do. If you don't have anything good to say, don't say it at all. If something bothers you about the guitar, anything on my channel, anything I say, anything I do, just move on to the next video, you know. Keep your comments to yourself. Just because you have a mouth doesn't mean that we have to hear it, you know. I grew up in a household with you know, it was me and 4 other siblings and my parents, and everyone was very loud, and I found it was easier for me just to be quiet and listen than to speak. And I wasn't about to yell over everybody either. But so not everything needs to be said about whatever's in your head. You know, go outside and yell, and then come back in the house again if that's what's going to make you feel better. You know, because I will reply the way you left the comment. I'll give it right back to you, because that's the kind of person I am. That's my attitude. The weather down here has, for those that, because I've got friends and family members, when I said I'm moving to Florida, oh, it's too hot there. Whatever the temperature is, like when I was living in Long Island, you would have 95, 97 degree days, and you could have the same thing down here. You know, living on Long Island, as long as you're by the coast, you've got a coastal breeze. If you're in central Long Island, it's warmer. Just like here. Here, I'm by the Gulf coast, so I always have, I'm a mile away from the water. I always have a coastal breeze that kind of cuts down on the humidity. But the past 3 weeks since Thanksgiving, you know, and here we are, it's December 14th. It's gone from, you know, 70s to 60s to in the 50s this week. So you do get those, a couple of, you know, chilly days. It's not like Arizona where, you know, it's 110 degrees. So with that said, it affects the guitars because, you know, these are in a central air-conditioned house that runs 24/7. But then when it gets chilly out, and I gotta switch it over to heat, so that my wife and daughter aren't walking around saying it's freezing, you know, and why we're living in Florida if it's cold. They have the opposite effect. With a sweater on, I gotta turn the heat on. So that, you know, little bit of climate control within the house affects, you know, the guitars. So I do have to, you know, I do check them again, like I said, before I play and after I play. And they've been holding up. You know, all of them on the wall, really, in this room, have been holding up pretty good. So I can't complain. And I just figured I'd make this video because of the two Agile. So this one is the AL-3200 MCC. This is the AL-3200 MCC. The only difference is that this is a hardtail. Oosh. Need to bounce it. And this one has a Floyd Rose. So let me try to get it a little centered there, so I could use that as the thumbnail, you know, for the smile. That's my stomach after lunch. The other difference is that the one with the Floyd is a lot lighter. I'd probably say 4 or 5 pounds lighter than the hardtail. Besides that, they're equal. They're both neck through design, 5-piece. You've got maple, walnut, and maple. And on my models, the maple that's going from the headstock through the neck, through the body, happens to be flamed maple. It's hard to see, but it you know, because of the stain that they use. But it's there. And they're both, that's my stomach again. Oh yeah, I put a dragon on this one because it's never going anywhere. This one having a quilted maple top, both of them having belly cuts, by the way. Let's not leave that out. Okay. Oy. This one, like I was saying, quilted maple top, or some people call it curly maple. And this one is the tiger maple. They're both veneers, and they're both on maple caps. They say for, you know, the tone and resonance and, you know, yada yada yada, stuff like that. But you know, that's really the only difference that I could say. I'm gonna put this one down because this one is the heaviest, and I'll tell you why I started with that one. This is a Van Halen backing track, and although, you know, I'm a fan of I've got maybe 15, 20, let's say 15 very favorite guitarists that I you know, I guess you could say I worship as a guitar player, wishing I could, you know, I would have that skill, even though I don't and never will. Just because, like, you know, I'm you know, a fan, or I met them, or hung out with them, like Eddie Van Halen. I'm a fan of Eddie Van Halen. I got to meet him, and I got to hang out with him, and you know, spend time with him. And but that doesn't mean that if I have an Eddie Van Halen guitar, which I do, and I have an Eddie Van Halen backing track, that I could play like Eddie Van Halen. Same thing with my my '59 Greenie Moore guitar. I'm a huge Gary Moore fan, and you know, the last contact I had with him was an email, just before he died, and just because I have, you know, a copy of one of his guitars, and I played to one of his backing tracks, doesn't mean by any, you know, means that I could play anything like him. And I try to avoid playing their backing tracks, you know, for that reason, because people are going to say, well, you didn't play it exactly. Yeah. Same thing goes with my Ace Frehley guitar, you know. So I don't even remember, and I tried. I don't even remember one Kiss song, and I used Kiss Alive. I used to know how to play every song on that LP that I had, you know, when I was a kid. And it's gone. It's just gone now. So I started with the Hardtail because anyone that's a Floyd guy, or even if you're playing a Strat with a Wilkinson tremolo, and you use the arm, as long as I've been, since they first came out, you know, even my first guitar had it was like a spring operated kind of not even some kind of whammy bar thing. I can't equate it to anything that I've ever seen before. Something different. Nothing like a Bigsby. Nothing like the Jaguars. Nothing like that. It was odd. It was just that you put the strings in, they went over the bridge, and then on that little piece in between was a handle with a spring under it, almost like a Bigsby, but nothing really, and that was it. So I've always played with a whammy bar, and then of course my first Fender had a whammy bar, and then I just kept on going from there until the 80s and the Floyd Rose came out, and that was a whole nother world for everybody. When you could do that, and I can't even use it with my arm, but if you could dive all the way down and the strings are literally hanging off the guitar and come back up and it stays in tune, that's quite impressive. But once you start playing a guitar with a whammy bar, a tremolo arm, wiggle stick, whatever you want to call it, and you go back to a hardtail, you find yourself as you're playing going to grab an arm that's not even there. The Phantom tremolo arm, that's not even there anymore. So that's why I played that one first, because I didn't want to play this one. And then as I'm going to do something and going to, I didn't want to, because I'll do that. I've seen myself do that before on videos. But again, the only difference is they both have Grover tuners. They both have ebony fingerboards. The quilted maple hardtail has 22 hand-filed polished jumbo frets. This one has 24 hand-filed polished jumbo frets. So they're both ebony. They both have jumbo frets. They both have mother of pearl trapezoid inlays. I think the pickups are the same. These, in my opinion, I really didn't compare the two side, the information on each one. They're both Alinco, I think, if I'm pronouncing it. Again, I don't pronounce things correctly. I think these have a little bit more bite. What I do with these is I roll down the tone, just between 9 and 10, because I think these have a little bit more bite to them. Nothing compared to like a metal zone guitar with EMGs or something like that. That's really cuts through that really heavy, thick distortion. It almost sounds like you've got a distortion pedal cranked on 10 and distortion on the amp cranked on 10. But they really they have a lot of bite, and they really break through. They cut through the mix as you're playing. So they may be slightly different from one another. Other than that, and this is much lighter. And again, it could be because you're missing some of the wood back there for the Floyd Rose. But this is comfortable, but I play sitting down anyway. But if I were to go play somewhere and I'm gonna stand up, I wouldn't mind playing this. I could deal with it. If I brought this puppy, I'd have to sit down or lean against something. And again, one of the comments mentioned that it's the moisture. They, just like most guitars, and Paul Reed Smith, he's got a certain science to how much water he takes out of the wood, how much moisture he leaves in, maybe 5%. Supposedly, there's a lot more moisture in the wood coming from South Korea, where these are handcrafted, all of them since day one. And I've mentioned when they started, I think I failed to mention that the company, from what I recall, started in 1958, Rondo's Music. But in 1999 is when Kurt started manufacturing the first LP copy. And I think I said it was a 2000, but now I think they started with 1900 because I'm finding a couple of 1900 versions or 1900 series. Again, on as you're shopping around, all of a sudden, now that I'm aware of these Agile, or if you're French, Agile, Gumby headstocks, guitars. Now that I'm aware of it, I see it. I see a lot more of them now, and I get a lot of positive comments on these guitars. Other than the fact that what I have mentioned, they've got some weight to it. But when you have a guitar with some weight to it, compared to something that's super light, you kind of, it feels like a solid guitar. Then when you got something that's super light, you're like, like, is this really as good as I think it is? No, it's just weight relieved. That's all. That's the difference. And of course, it's different woods and this and that and the whole bit. But both fine instruments. Again, if you want an LP, Les Paul style copy guitar, and guitars have been copied from one another since the very first time a guitar was made. A lot of guys are crying about that. If you want an LP style guitar with a Floyd Rose and an ebony fingerboard that that looks like this, that's a neck through. I've not seen another guitar made like this, neck through, period. And Harley Benton doesn't make them. They have their thin version, the same, almost like this, but it's a set neck, and it's a flat black front, and it's regular frets on there, and you don't have an ebony fingerboard. The other one is the Epiphones, and the Epiphones, the ones that I've seen that have the Floyd, they're too expensive. And even the Alex Lifeson, again, I keep on mispronouncing his name. His Epiphone, it's nice, but it's bigger than this. It's a little bit wider as a regular one because these are thinner bodies. But it's all pieced together, So again, if you're looking for an LP with a Floyd Rose, I would have to say 100% go with this one here, because you won't be disappointed. It's not one thing on this guitar that you have to upgrade or change. I changed the knobs because I prefer the fatter knobs, and I just changed the screws to stainless steel because I have a bag of them. But I didn't have to do that. That's my preference. Again, the only other guitar that I have that's a 24 fret with a Floyd Rose is my Harley Benton, and it doesn't compare to this. It just doesn't come close. It's nice. It's a great guitar, but it doesn't come close to this. But then again, that's a $300 and change guitar. $350. $4 and change if you get EMGs, and this is $599. So both of them were. This one was $699 originally, probably because of the Floyd, but he's got a special going in this month, being the month of December in 2023. And it was $599, same thing I paid as that. And I really don't like paying that much money for a guitar. But when I got it and I played it, and I definitely compared it right away to my Epiphones, I was like, wow, this is 10 times better. So it's still a good deal. And if this is what you're into, then yeah, definitely check one out. Thanks for watching, and have a good day. Yep, it happens all the time, right? All the time. And I bet it tomorrow. And I'm going to have to go, woo!